Welcome to Casper's Mindset.
What's up, folks? It's Casper back with another video. Today I just wanted to briefly discuss the pros and cons of shooting in manual mode, at least for me. Let's start with the pros. One of the pro things is you get more control over the edit and post if you do shoot in manual mode. What that does for you really is give you full control of the photo that you capture. Whether you want to raise the shadows or darken them, or raise the highlights or darken those. You can also adjust the midtones better when you do shoot in manual mode. For example, you don't only get to control your aperture, which is the depth of field in your photo, whether you want a real blurry background or if you want the background in focus. Also, adjusting your ISO, which is how much light comes into your lens, allows you to get a more darker or brighter image right off the bat. Finally, adjusting your shutter speed can either freeze motion or it can let the motion flow naturally to where it'll create a blurry subject or a blurry background. The choice is up to you, really. Now that we discussed that, let's talk about the cons. And like I said earlier, this is my experience and just me speaking of the cons that I've came across while shooting in manual mode. So initially, a con for me was shooting in the daytime, whether it's real sunny or just super bright outside. You have to constantly adjust your shutter speed. Your main focus is to stay in between the 0 mark or underexposure image to go to the -1, sometimes even -2 mark. So you have to watch out for that. If it's too low, your image will come out black. If it's too high, your image will come out super white. Sometimes you can fix this in post when you're editing your photo, whether you use Lightroom, Snapseed, or any other platform that allows you to edit your photos. But that's not always the case. Sometimes you're left with a underexposed image or an overexposed image, which is just simply too hard to fix. I tend to shoot during the day, so obviously it's an issue for me. But every now and then I'll get out around golden hour, and shooting in manual really allows me to make the scene look brighter if it is too dark already, but I can also make it darker if it is too bright. Sometimes just the fact that I'm accustomed to pointing and shooting causes me to have an issue where I get frustrated and can miss the shot. Now, while that may be on me for not just knowing initially already what shutter speed I should have, it just takes too much time, for me anyways. Other than that, there's really not that much negative to say about shooting in manual, although it is a learning process and it does take time. For years, I shot in auto mode. What that means is the camera does all the work for you. Now, if you want to be lazy or just don't have the time, like me for certain cases, auto is the way to go. But keep in mind, you lose pretty much all control of how your overall image will look in camera and after you edit it. An alternative would be AV mode, or aperture priority. That's going to be the AV dial on your camera. Now, I shoot with Canon personally, so I'm not sure about the other brands if they do have this function, but I'm pretty sure they do. It just may be called something else as far as the button goes. This is what the M dial looks like on my Canon T7. And like I mentioned here, you can adjust your shutter speed, your aperture, your ISO, and of course you want to shoot in RAW. And when I was talking about The exposure levels, you want to keep it at 0, -1, or -2. If you want an overexposed image, set it to +1 or +2. Now here's an alternative to manual, that would be AV. You can still adjust your aperture, your ISO, and your exposure level. But as you see, you can adjust your shutter speed. Lastly, if you're just starting out, try out auto and see if it works for you. But if you want more control over how your image looks, I suggest you stay away from it. Safe to say, manual is good most of the time, and it's not so good some of the time. It just depends on the time of day and what you're actually taking photos of. For me, I like a lot of nature, landscape photos. I also take photos of classic cars, architecture, and sometimes I'll do a little street photography. I'm not much of a portrait person, but I have tried it on occasion. So if this video helped you any, feel free to thumbs up, subscribe to the channel if you haven't already, and I'll see you guys in the next video.
Thanks for watching. Be sure to subscribe and hit that notification bell.